I used to go for coffee when I had my office in Beverly Hills with some of my team, and I would go get iced coffee. One day I asked my partner, hey, you want coffee? Yeah, I can bring my coffee. So I brought my coffee. He's like, oh, this is good. What is it? I was like, oh, it's my regular order. It's a vanilla latte with easy ice. For years, he went to Coffee Bean, and he would get the special easy ice. He'd order, he'd be like, oh, I love the easy ice. And I'm like,
you're just getting less of it.
For like 2 years, I was like, it just means less ice. It just means, he's like, oh, okay.
Quiet, please.
Because he thought the pellets were probably soft to chew.
Easy ice machine.
Easy. Yeah,
Exactly.
of course.
Exactly. So funny.
Oh, that's funny.
I can totally get how he got there, too.
2.
Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense, Season 3, Episode 24. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Stu Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, Ukrainian military drone operation strikes Russia's strategic bomber fleet.
You just roll into Best Buy and buy the, I want the drone that bombs the planes. Is that what you do?
SpaceX rockets keep exploding. Is that normal?
Oh, so the Ukrainians should be using the SpaceX drones because they already explode.
Skip a step,
Yeah,
sure.
skip a step.
Federal court blocks Trump tariffs. Appeals expected.
Appeals my ass. He's going to just put tariffs on the federal courts. Like, oh, you want to use a pen? It's going to be really expensive.
Also, our big story later this week, hopefully, finally, budget cuts and broken dreams, the unseen costs of public school decline.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I can still get in the way of this week. I'll come up with something. Dog ate my homework.
It's Pride Month. Pride Month is a time for each individual to be proud of who they are and the unique offerings they bring to the world. Specifically, it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Pride Month. And if that's not you, Pride Month is simply a great excuse to celebrate people who are different from you. What a boring world this would be if we were all the same.
Totally. I have a lot of fun, really fun friends, but my most fun group of friends skews heavily gay. I can't explain it, but that's like where the fun is at least now. It wasn't, 30 years ago. And I totally understand that if you're afraid of gays, we label you homophobic. I understand that's the label that we give you.
Sure.
But I'm the opposite. I'm like homo aspirational. I keep trying to buy tickets to those gay conversion therapies, but then they always cancel my reservation when I explain to them that I'm trying to go the other direction. And they're like, yeah, we don't do that. And I'm like, I understand. If you claim you can go one way, why can't you go the other way? They're like, yeah, we don't do that.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. Get therapy.
Now you know how my weekends go.
How's your week going?
My week has been, bananas. I'm getting over a cold, which is better. But,
I hear it.
But we waited. It took us years to finally win tickets to go see Banana Ball. So we've been in the lottery for a while. And we got to go see our first game in Anaheim on last Friday. It was amazing. I took my boys.
That's so fun.
Total blast. The drive was terrible. It took over 3 hours to get to Orange County on a Friday afternoon. So that was terrible.
I wanted to go with you.
I know. I wanted you to go with me, but you had the Yankees, which was another clown show.
Dodger Yankees.
You had to pick which clown show you wanted to go to. I'm not sure. You may have chosen well. I'm not sure. We'll get to go to Banana Ball again, but it was the stadium was packed. I took one of our dear listeners who loved it. Every seat was full. The whole show is excellent. For those that don't know, Jesse Cole is the guy who founded this Fans First Entertainment. They're the owner of the Savannah Bananas and the teams they play against, like the Party Animals. We got to see them play against the Firefighters. They've sold out every game since their inaugural season in Savannah, and they've got a wait list of over 2 million fans. They've got 15 million social media followers.
Wow.
I mean, this thing is massive, but it's not baseball. It's what they call banana ball. So it's like traditional baseball, but there's a 2-hour time limit. There are no walks. If they pitch you 4 balls, then you immediately start sprinting and you can take as many bases as you can get until every defensive player touches the ball, except for the pitcher and the catcher. Everyone's got to touch the ball and then they can tag you out, right? So it's just super fun. I mean, and the best part is if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out, which I think is awesome.
Oh, that's great.
It's really cool.
What if they drop it?
Then it's not an out.
Oh, that's amazing.
So you would have balls, like everyone cheering for the home team, right? The Savannah Bananas. So when they'd pop a foul ball, people would like catch and then be like, oh, oops, and then drop it. But when the Firefighters would hit a foul ball, people would catch it and hold on, and then they get called out. They have a guy that will catch the ball while doing a backflip. And let me be clear, he does not catch the ball and then do a backflip. He is mid backflip when the ball goes into his glove, which I don't understand how that's even possible.
Right.
And they had a pitcher on stilts, like literally on the mound on stilts pitching. It's insane.
Which sounds super dangerous when that ball comes back at him at 110 miles an hour.
And he's a giant target standing up in the air. Everything, it was really fun. My only complaint was our seats happened to be directly under one of the speaker arrays, and it was way, way, way too loud. Even with hearing protection, my kids, after a couple innings, they were just like, we can't do this anymore. I wasn't going to make them suffer. We split, but we got some cool merch. They put on a really great show.
I believe they sold 10 games to ESPN.
Oh, yeah. We saw some on ESPN beforehand. I had the kids kids watch it so they had a sense of what the experience was like. It's amazing. It's really incredible. If you can get seats and it comes near you should go see it. It's like the Harlem Globetrotters rebooted, but in baseball or banana ball. It's really fun.
That's super fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. How about you? How's your week?
This has been a rough one. My father passed away, nearly 91 years old, but thankfully he died as peacefully as he lived. My mother found him sitting with his head down to one side as if he'd fallen asleep, no signs of stress or struggle. We were very close and talked frequently enough that both of us, I'm sure, would agree there was not one thing left unsaid. Going through his financials, my sister last week reaffirmed something we both knew. Bobba was an exceptionally generous man to those in need. A firm believer in education, he and my mother anonymously paid the tuition for a surprising number of students who might not otherwise have been able to afford it. Old friends who'd been unlucky in life received monthly checks without the knowledge of whomever was writing them. A big lesson from my dad was that there were people who drew the shorter straws in life, and that those of us who were luckier owed a debt to them. I once made the mistake of saying that someone who'd worked hard and bought a beautiful new boat deserved it. He quietly explained that the idea that anyone deserved anything, good or bad, was patently ridiculous. The baby born with a disease certainly didn't deserve it. My ability to easily do complex math, even though I'd studied hard, began with genetic good fortune, a predisposition that I had absolutely nothing to do with. Over and over, especially by example, he showed that it's our responsibility as best we can to level out the randomness of life's luck. Of course, he'd also add, always work as hard as you can, and you'll be surprised how lucky you get. Dr. James Robert Bobba Parker, my dad, 90. Love you, Dad.
That was beautiful, Jeff. It sounds like the apple didn't fall very far from the tree on this one.
Let's get to our headlines.
Let's do it.
Operation Spiderweb, drones hammer Russian airbases. Ukrainian military operation leverages AI-guided FPV drones in largest known strike against Russia's strategic bomber fleet. On June 1st, in a sophisticated 18-month operation, Ukrainian agents smuggled drones into Russia via disguised containers. The drones launched coordinated strikes on 4 Russian airbases, including one in Siberia, destroying an estimated $7 billion worth of aircraft. Ukraine claims that 41 planes were damaged in this long-range assault, significantly impacting Moscow's air superiority.
This was incredible. Like, this was, like, if this was in Mission Impossible 27, or whatever fucking number they're on, I wouldn't have believed it.
This was a spy novel.
Would not have believed it.
And so brilliantly executed. And by the way,
Yes.
they didn't tell Trump in advance that it was happening.
Of course you wouldn't. Fucking A.
Right.
You must have just tweet it.
I mean, makes perfect sense.
Like, why would you?
Because a lot of times you tell the U.S. has given them money for, and you would let your allies in on what was going on. In this case, they were really smart not to.
Of course.
They struck 5 air bases, 41 aircraft were destroyed, over 100 small FPV drones were used. They did covert smuggling of drones deep into Russian territory, concealed inside mobile wooden cabins, which were then mounted on civilian-looking trucks. The roofs of those wooden cabins were opened remotely, allowing the drones to take off and strike nearby air bases.
It's incredible.
The Ukrainian agents involved in preparing the operation were reportedly evacuated before the attacks began.
Totally. There are some pictures of this.
There's so much great video.
Oh, the video's incredible. But one of the things I noticed, so they made these container cabins, right? And they look very nondescript, and they put some shit on the roof to make it look like it's a cabin out in the sun, right? Like it's just a thing, which is awesome. One of the things I noticed, so supposedly a bunch of these were launched off of trucks, so that where they left the containers on the trucks. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. If I were putting a bunch of containers on a truck, a lot of times you'll just throw straps over them to hold them down.
Of course.
Obviously that won't work when you have a remotely deployable roof. So I noticed in some of the pictures, they're tied down from the corners in a cross, which is really interesting, right? They had to do this differently than I assume they would normally be tied down so that these things could still deploy, because it's no good if the roofs are stuck. But it's incredible. Like they put these out there and then deployed them in waves with a bunch of these FPV drones, which I think we should explain to people what that means.
First person view drones, meaning the pilot has goggles on. He is seeing what the drone is seeing and where the drone is going. And you can really pilot these things fast and furiously through tight little spaces, and it's absolutely remarkable.
I don't know yet what they're using for munitions. Like they've done this, the Ukrainian forces have done this against troops and artillery vehicles locally, or I should say military vehicles on their own soil, with basically just dropping grenades, which is incredible. Here, I'm guessing it was something more than that, but still amazing that they loaded these things up with munitions, put them into these basic crates that looked like some nondescript thing, then deployed them. It's an amazing job. It's an absolute amazing job.
Russian officials labeled the drone strikes terrorist attacks and confirmed fires at multiple bases, even though they greatly downplayed the extent of the damage. They also claimed some of the participants in the terrorist attacks had been detained.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm sure they detained people.
That great video that you're seeing, the FPV drones used Russian mobile telephone networks to relay the footage back to Ukraine. They used their own phone lines.
One of my favorite memes of yesteryear: in your base, killing your dudes. That's exactly what this was.
Ukraine has gotten to be really good at drones.
And they got some real aircraft in this too. Some Tu-95s, some Tu-22s, A2s, at least one A50. And this has been confirmed by the open source intelligence network. So it's not like this was all just optics. This has actually been confirmed.
It's pretty remarkable.
It's totally remarkable. It's amazing to see what they were able to do, just outsmarting their counterparts. Oh, I'll put some links to the best video and sort of infographics that I've seen on this. I'll put that in the show notes. It's really interesting. If you haven't already seen this in the news, it's pretty compelling.
This is the future of warfare. Unmanned drone attacks disabling a superior air force.
Yeah.
This is the future.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's really nuts, the two, that they use their own infrastructure, right, to communicate back. That's pretty incredible.
Mars or bust, why SpaceX rocket Starship keeps blowing up. SpaceX Starship failures, while frequent, are part of their rapid test, fail, iterate development. Unlike traditional space agencies, the approach aims to accelerate Mars mission readiness, but it involves significant engineering challenges, particularly with the complex Starship and its many engines. While SpaceX will likely succeed eventually, current Mars timelines, which were like a year and a half, are highly ambitious and, of course, extraordinarily unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is how you get people there. You put a stake in the sand. You say we're going to go to the moon by the end of the decade, and then you hump it to try to get there. You could argue maybe this is overly aggressive, and that effect has kind of wears off on people by the fourth time you're saying fucking robotaxis are going to be out next year.
Sure.
So
yeah, exactly.
It's a balance. I do think this is pretty interesting. The amount they being SpaceX is willing to put at risk. It does kind of make sense to me. However, I do wonder at what cost. And that's the part that's kind of interesting.
Huge environmental cost. This is the problem.
I mean, it is and it isn't. So there's two views on this. One is like, yes, you're dumping a bunch of shit. You're ruining some chunk of dirt off Galveston. I don't know, wherever these things are blowing up in Texas. That's not great.
And they aren't cleaning up after themselves.
Oh, no, that's somebody else's job. That's not their job.
Yeah.
But then, like, in the bigger picture of things, especially if we think, not that I agree with this, but that the only way that our civilization is going to continue is to get off this rock, then you go, well, that's a very small price to pay in the bigger, game of things. Here's my thing. You can fucking do both, right? You can actually do both. It's not like SpaceX is hurting for capital for cleanup. It's also like they could do these things in a little more friendly way, but move fast and break things is the strategy.
Obviously, going to Mars doesn't help, because if the sun explodes, Mars is affected.
Not if, when. I don't think it explodes. I think it collapses, right?
It explodes and collapses. Those things are related. It gets unbearably, long before any of that happens, it becomes unbearably hot on Earth.
Yeah, okay. Wait, are you talking about like climate change? Or are you talking about like the sun supernovaing?
I'm talking about the sun supernovaing. Mars doesn't help you.
It does. It could buy you significant time. It's possible.
An hour.
I mean, galactically, yes, you're right. It's not buying you a lot of time. But then what's the point?
No.
Why are we doing this fucking show? It's not like anyone's going to be on Mars and be like, you know what I really want to listen to? There was a nonsense episode from 230 years ago that I thought was really good. It's very topical.
Oh, I hope it's more than 230 years.
You hope it's longer?
I'm not sure move fast and break things is a great strategy with explosives.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's got to be in balance. And I think the fact that they're going faster and net cost is less, and there's been huge incremental progress in these bombs that we take into outer space in the past 20, 30 years. I think that's great. I really do. But it's like, it's got to be a better balance. That's where I get sort of wrapped around the
And
axle.
you got to clean up after yourself.
Well, yeah, that's part of the balance. Like, not be a total asshole about it.
SpaceX Starship has been iterating, but they're iterating, unlike the Falcons and other previous rockets, where they iterated in a way where they were just changing a few things at a time. And making each thing get better and better and better. They're iterating so many things, I have no idea how they can tell if they're advancing or not. There's no outward indication that we're making any forward progress.
Well, I got to assume the engineers there know and are. I got to assume they are testing, end systems, sort of whatever the largest end they can test and still get data back to know. And that in theory, this should require less launches to get success. Yeah. I do believe that is likely true.
You don't think Musk is pushing them too hard to iterate too many things at one time?
I don't know.
The data's useless?
I don't know. I got to believe you'd see a bunch of big brains would be like, we probably shouldn't do this. And I'm sure there's been pushback internally. Yeah. But it's like that, I hate citing this, but it's like it's that Jobs distortion field. It's you got to sort of push folks beyond what they think their abilities are, but to the point of what they can do. And I do think there's an element of that here. I don't know how much it is. It's not like SpaceX is trying to meet some funding goal. It's not like they've got to get this done. Right. Sure. Like it's a different sort of inspiration and push on this than that, which is, I think, a good thing.
By the way, Jobs' reality distortion field was not about pushing his engineers to new heights.
It's about about yelling at people?
It was about going and giving keynote speeches about things that were absolutely not true, and the audience all nodding and going, oh, that's wonderful, yay! And it's like, oh, yeah, but that's...
I'm speaking about the people that actually worked alongside him. And they one consistent thing they've said, and he could be difficult to work with. Some people definitely called him, an asshole. He did things that I think were not great.
He was mercurial.
Mercurial. It's easy for us all to say. Yeah, when I'm the one pronouncing words correctly on this show, you know that Mars is probably a better option at this point.
It would be easier to live underwater, under the ocean, at the bottom of the ocean, 7 miles down than it would be to live on Mars.
Is that true? I don't know if that's true. It's really fucking hard to live down there. It's a lot of...
And it's 100% true. Mars is a much more inhospitable environment.
There's not even a Dairy Queen down there. How am I going to get a blizzard?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. It's coming. You had said earlier, they're trying to test a bunch of things. One of the design, I'm certainly not a space expert. I'm far from that.
A rocketologist?
I'm not a rocketologist. I am a rocket surgeon, but I'm not a rocketologist. The Starship has something like 33 engines on it. Which, just thinking about firing those, like, here's the other thing that is really amazing about this. They want these engines, part of the design criteria is for them to refire.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
In space. Not just refire in space.
That's like kind of fucking hard. They've stretched the goal here on this quite a bit. I think this is amazing. If I had to bet, I would bet on them. I think they are going to get there. I can't tell you how long, but my hunch is this is probably close to the fastest path. That's my hunch.
By the way, they've gotten them to reignite on a few tries, but they mostly don't reignite.
Yeah. I don't know if they're like, are they trying?
I think they'll improve over time.
Does each one have a different thing in it? Like one they're using rosemary and sage, and the other one they're using like tarragon. Like are they just using different things to see what
I'm sure it's all spice driven.
It's all spice driven, right? I assume. One of the I don't know if it's used anymore, but when I as the dinosaur was studying electrical engineering, the popular program for laying out schematics was called Spice.
Trump's chaos mounts as courts block Trump tariffs.
Well, yeah, of course. They said you can't do this. And he was like, but I was elected. I speak the voice of the people.
I am the king.
Still have laws.
A federal court ruled Trump cannot impose tariffs on a whim, blocking those implemented under emergency powers. It found trade deficits aren't an extraordinary threat, and trafficking tariffs didn't exactly address the issue.
Yeah.
While Trump appeals, the ruling creates uncertainty, but analysts suggest he might find alternative ways to impose tariffs.
Sure. The panel of judges that ruled on this, by the way, one of them was a Trump appointee.
Yeah.
One of them was an Obama appointee.
Okay.
And one was a Reagan appointee. And I was like, wait,
oh, wow.
What? Like, there's a Reagan appointee on there, which was incredible.
Got to be a million.
So stop bitching about these are the crazy radical left. Like, no, these are quote, your people. And they just said, follow the fucking law. So according to these judges, they took Trump's arguments and they said, look, if you actually look at what Congress wrote when they enacted this is the IEEPA, which is what Trump is using to create these tariffs.
Yeah.
They literally said in it, they used its own language that you would have to have a real reason, not just make one up.
Right.
And if you read the verbiage, which I don't want to bore everybody with here, it's pretty clear. And I love that they just cited, they didn't like create something from whole cloth. They just cited the powers that were granted from this. And they said, I don't think this is what Congress meant.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty eloquent way to say, yeah, man, no, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing.
We've had trade deficits for 50 years. Why is this suddenly an emergency?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the separate logical argument, right? It's like, I don't want to put screws in fucking iPhones. That's not what I want to do.
Oh, yeah.
That's not really what I'm setting out to do. I want to be able to buy the home automation stuff, not make it.
I just made a big order of home automation stuff from Ukraine.
From Ukraine? Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
They sell some really amazing stuff.
That's amazing.
The engineering is exceptional.
Yeah, of course. I just look at this thing and I'm like, all right, this is going to be how this is going to get spun out is going to be bananas.
Yeah.
It does seem like maybe we were trying to overstep just a little with this, just a touch. Just how are you supposed to run a business in this climate?
You can't just randomly yell national emergency and do anything you want at any time. Is that the kind of country we want to be?
Yes.
Where we can't just randomly yell something's an emergency and do whatever we want?
Well, it's not that simple. Before you yell emergency, you tell your friends and then they can trade against it. And then you yell emergency. You left that part out.
We are going to find out there.
It's already there. I mean, you already have this information. Everyone's just like, but Pelosi does the same thing. And I'm like, first of all, not quite the same. But second of all, even if it was, it's still not right. It's not what you want. Like, you actually want a system that works. You actually want to believe that there's no insider trading, not obvious insider trading. I wonder where those 100,000 options came from. Meanwhile, you've got people that are making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars on these trades pre-announcement.
Yes.
And the real problem on that people just don't understand is there's somebody on the other side of that trade, right? There's a handful of people
who's losing money.
Almost always it's going to be the retail trader. Almost always, right? Not every time, but almost always it's going to be the retail trader who's getting fucked.
Yeah.
And how are you going to believe in this system, right? How are you going to want to put your 401k or your money into this system when it's just rigged? And I just go, how can you not see past, we're not even looking past the end of our shoes on this, let alone down the horizon.
That's why everyone says Russia's stock market is worth so little, because no one believes in it. And truthfully, he's just tipping off his friends for when to buy what when.
And you hope there will be a return to some sort of normalcy. But man, when a bunch of people that have pretty obviously broken the law are being sprung free, you're like, oh, well, as long as you're in the good graces, as long as you went to the $1 million a plate dinner, you're okay. How that's not pay to play. And I suspect a whole lot of people aspire to be that. They hope that they're going to be that. I'm like, you may also aspire to play in the fucking NBA. You're 48 years old. You weigh 260 pounds. You're not going to play in the fucking NBA. You're not going to have a seat at $1 million a plate dinner. You're not going to be afforded these opportunities.
Yeah.
And the people fighting to help afford opportunities for you, you're like, no, they're out to get me. And I'm just like, okay, all right, maybe I want to go to Mars. Maybe Mars is the place.
This will come to an end. When Trump completes his either third or fourth term and eventually just passes away from old age.
I don't know. That fourth term, I think that's going to be where he really comes into full stride.
You think Barron will take over at that point?
The fourth term will be
pass it on.
It's going to be like Weekend at Bernie's. You're just going to have Don Jr. just going to be back there holding his head up. Just making him talk. He's fine on the boat.
Broadband giants push Trump to kill low-cost plans. Broadband lobby groups urge the Trump administration to sue states like New York over laws requiring affordable internet plans for low-income residents.
Yeah.
These groups, including CTIA, NCTA, and U.S. Telecom, sought federal intervention to preempt state regulations despite having lost similar lawsuits themselves. They fear a wave of similar state-level legislation.
Yeah, okay, so back to the point we were just making. This is something that has been brought all the way up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court decided not to hear this case. Yeah. So the lower court's ruling stands. And they're like, oh, no, we're just going to go take it to Trump, right? We're going to just write a check, presumably, buy some Trump coin, and get this heard.
Sure.
What they're fighting for is incredible. And I would really urge anybody who's listening to this to just go read about this for 5 minutes. They're saying that they believe in free markets and that they should uphold free markets for telecom. And I go, generally speaking, I'm a free markets guy. Great. I love that. That's not what's happening here. They're not forcing there to be only, one player in some cases, which ironically is what's allowed. So the fact that telecom are asking for free markets is just...
It's crazy.
Just fucking comedy. This is specifically in New York. They require ISPs to offer broadband at a low cost for people that are...
Low income,
low income. And I was like, okay, what does low income mean? I went and looked. And there's several different ways you can qualify for this. But for example, a couple of the programs that you would have to be on, you're at like the 130 to 150% of the poverty line. So we're talking about $25,000 a year in gross income.
Sure.
And I look at that and go, okay, so the telecoms either want those people to not have access to the internet, which I don't know how you would operate.
It's hard to survive in the modern world without access to the internet.
How would your kids do anything in school? How could you get a job? I'd argue that the internet is more important than water. It seems like it's easier to go get water once every other day in 2 5-gallon buckets and survive on that than you can't go fill up a jug of the internet, although that's a great business idea. And if you could do that, imagine bringing one of those 5-gallon jugs and just filling up my internet for the day and just bringing it home. Apparently, they're not okay with folks that are, let's say, sub $25,000 a year gross income, paying a discounted rate for internet. They should pay what, the $80 a month for internet? Like that's what they should be doing. They should be putting up a significant portion of their pay just to have access to the internet. I'm like, this is what you're fighting for? Like, how big is this percentage of people? It can't be that big.
I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to say they should pay $0.
They should pay zero. I mean, why isn't this at this point? You would think that this should be owned and managed primarily by municipalities.
Yeah,
a utility.
100%.
My water in Los Angeles, which none of us would be here. This town would be mainly full of dust if we didn't have water. My water is brought to me by the city. Like I have city water and it works pretty fucking well. I actually read the city report every year and people bitch about it. And I'm like, we have one of the best water supplies in the country.
Well, some of the pipes are 90 years old and could use replacing.
Plus.
Yes.
I think some of the pipes are over 100 years old. Yes, of course. Look, I'm not saying they're perfect.
But other than that.
Yeah. I mean, the folks in Flint would like to have a conversation, I think. Their shit's not even that old.
Right. The water itself is great.
I look at this and I'm like, how has this not been pushed out to municipalities? Everyone needs this. And being a technologist and knowing what it takes to run these things, your incremental cost is very low. Like you can do this and I should not have to pay $100 a month for internet access. It's just insanity.
It should all be municipality.
Cabletown was built on something.
Okay, enough with the headlines. In fact, enough with the episode. We have to get out of here. Special thanks to our floor director, Richard Parker.
Thanks, Richard.
We'll be back later this week, probably Friday. CJ's Week is Crazy, with our big story about the harm we're doing to our future by not investing in public schools. Until then, thank you for listening to all this nonsense. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Stu Little.
BCS.
Is it Greek? No, Vasius.
Swedish.
Oh, it's Swedish.
Read this.
Dear listener, if you're like us, you have certainly grown tired of paying $10, $13, or even $15
Prices adjusted for modern rates.
for 1.44 megabyte floppy disks when they look the same as the 720 kilobyte disks that cost only $2.50. Price adjusted, $1. Surely, you've seen the YouTube and TikTok videos telling us that the only difference between the disks is the small hole in the casing. Well, the fine folks at Mirart in Pompano Beach, Florida have developed a tool that will place a perfectly sized hole in the exact location necessary to expand your 720K disk to 1.44 megabytes quickly and easily.
Wow.
It's basically magic.
Yeah.
No gimmicks, nothing fancy, just a simple, rugged tool to convert your disks and get the job done. The Saver II is constructed of a heavy die-cast aluminum with a hardened steel punch and die, not thin sheet metal held together with pop rivets that you see on cheap imitations. None of those.
No.
It's so good that Mirart warranties the Saver II for 10,000 holes in your first year of ownership.
Wow.
The Mirart Saver II converts your existing floppies with a simple push of a lever and save your cold hard cash for some new game cards.
Fantastic.
All right, what do you think?
I'm confused because YouTube and TikTok didn't exist when I remember these punches existing.
Well, yeah, because the article...
So I kind of have to time travel.
The ad said read an article. I'm like, who the fuck reads articles anymore? You got to put it in YouTube and TikTok.
Okay, so you put in YouTube and Tiktok.
I put in YouTube and TikTok videos.
So I'm going to go back probably, I'm guessing.
And the original prices in the ad were $4, $5, and $6. I cost
Yes,
adjusted.
of course.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go back and say, basically, I think I stopped using 720K discs, had to be by 1990. So
Yeah.
jump back. This punch had to be 1988.
Yeah, you're in the window. This ad is from 89, so you figure it was right, like 88, 89, 90 was the window for this.
Yeah.
But there was a real price difference between them. I always thought it was thicker Mylar. I thought like it was a thicker disc because you would be on both sides. You'd save on both sides, but
Double density, yeah.
Double density versus high density. What do I know?
Right.
I just think this is bananas to think about.
Sure.
You would have a tool that would double your density.
Punch it.
Which was great. Like, that was fantastic.
Oh, you got some pretty unreliable discs by doing that.
Yeah, but who cares about that? What are you're gonna lose all your Zork files?
I might.
1989 was sort of the window, so you're spot on.
That's fun. That's super fun.